Black CEO told to wait outside 5 minutes later. She made every manager regret it. Hello everyone, before we begin today's video, I need your help. We've noticed that the channel is losing traction and subscribing is one of the best ways you can help us. It's quick, free, and allows us to continue bringing you great content. Your support means everything. Let's keep this channel growing collectively. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now let's get back to the story. Excuse me, this meeting is for executives only. You can wait outside. The words sliced through the glass-walled boardroom like a cold gust. Heads turned, phones tilted. Some smirked, others pretended to scroll. Maya Lawson didn't move. She stood by the end of the table in a deep navy suit, one hand resting on a leather folder. Calm, silent. Watching the woman in beige, Victoria Hayes, regional manager, point toward the hallway like she was shooing away the help. Laughter leaked from the far end of the room. A man whispered, probably someone's assistant. Another chuckled, guess she got lost. But Maya just breathed, steady, unbothered, the kind of composure that made the noise around her sound small. Outside rain slid down the windows. Inside judgment echoed louder than thunder. Before we continue, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you believe in dignity and justice, hit like and subscribe. These stories spark change and we're glad you're here. Now back to Maya Lawson. Victoria crossed her arms. You heard me. Maya tilted her head slightly, voice even. I did. The room went quiet, not out of respect, but confusion. She didn't defend herself. Didn't argue. She just stood. Behind her, a young intern hesitated with his phone half raised. You could see it in his eyes. He knew something about this felt wrong. Victoria sighed, exasperated. We don't have time for distractions. Maya's gaze didn't waver. Then don't waste any. The tension thickened. Every breath in that room carried two stories, the one they thought they knew and the one she was about to rewrite. Because in 5 minutes, the woman they told to wait outside would own everything inside. The rain hadn't stopped. It drummed against the glass like a quiet metronome, steady, indifferent, while inside the tension pulsed louder than the storm itself. Victoria turned away, already convinced she'd made the right call. Please, Mrs. Lawson, was it? We have confidential matters to discuss. She smiled thinly, the kind of smile that hides fear behind protocol. Maya didn't move from her spot. Her folder remained on the table untouched. Her eyes drifted across the conference wall, polished plaques, framed press clippings, a mission statement about diversity and inclusion in gold print. The irony gleamed brighter than the lighting. A man in a gray tie leaned over to another, whispering, Bet she's here to pitch something small, consulting or whatever. The other replied, Then she can wait outside like the rest. Maya heard every word. She'd heard them years ago in different rooms from different mouths. The uniform of disbelief rarely changes, it just gets more expensive. Miss Lawson, Victoria said again, voice tight, we'll call you back once the board is ready. No one realized the board was ready because she was the board. Before she could answer, a soft ping from her smartwatch broke the silence. One short vibration. A signal from Elena, her executive assistant. Status check confirmed. Systems online. But Maya stayed silent. She wanted them to finish the story they were writing in their heads before she rewrote it for real. A young intern named Liam sat near the back, his eyes darting between Maya and Victoria. He looked uneasy, hands clasped, jaw tight. He whispered to the woman beside him, She doesn't look like she's bluffing. The woman shrugged, barely glancing up from her phone. Doesn't matter. She's nobody here. Maya's voice finally broke the stillness. Would you prefer I wait in the hallway or the lobby? Victoria blinked, caught off guard by the calm tone. Either one will do. Maya nodded once. Good. Then I'll wait right here. Because this is, she gestured around the glass room, is the lobby. You just don't know who's standing in it yet. The sentence hung in the air like smoke. Victoria's brow tightened, unsure if she'd just been challenged or warned. The men stopped whispering. Liam's gaze fixed on Maya, realization creeping in slow motion. She gathered her tablet, opened a blank document, and began typing, not notes, not a presentation, just timestamps. Every word, every laugh, every insult. A record. The rain hit harder, and somewhere between the drops and the silence power began to shift. The boardroom clock ticked like it wanted to be heard. 9:12 a.m. Victoria was still talking, her words now just background noise to Maya's calm typing. Across the table, Dylan leaned back in his chair, folding his arms with a smug grin. So you're just gonna stand there? He asked. Maya didn't look up. I already am. The room chuckled quietly, nervously. Victoria pressed on, voice dripping with control. "This isn't personal. We just have procedures," Maya replied softly. "Procedures that decide who gets respect and who gets the hallway." The sentence landed like a soft punch. Victoria blinked but said nothing. A drop of rain traced down the window, catching the city's reflection, gray towers, people rushing below, unaware that one of the most powerful women in the skyline was being asked to wait outside her own meeting. "Miss Lawson," Victoria sighed, "if you stay, you'll delay our schedule." Maya closed her tablet, finally meeting her eyes. "Then you should reschedule what doesn't matter." For the first time, Victoria faltered. You could almost hear the silence inhale. Liam, the intern, shifted in his seat, his whisper barely audible. "She's not like the others," Dylan scoffed. "You'll learn quick, kid. People like her talk big till security shows up." That word again, security. It always arrived in the same tone, like a promise wrapped in threat. Maya had learned to recognize it since she was 23 when a loan officer called her suspiciously ambitious. Now, 2 decades and 7 companies later, it still sounded the same. Her smartwatch pulsed once. Elena's message appeared in clean text verification system standing by. "Activate." Maya's thumbs hovered over the screen. "Not yet, let them draw their own map of arrogance first." Victoria straightened her blazer, her tone clipped. "If you won't leave, I'll have to call building management." Maya smiled faintly. "You could, but you'll end up calling me." Dylan laughed loud enough for the glass to tremble. "Lady, who do you think you are?" Maya finally looked at him, steady, precise. "Someone who doesn't answer to you." The air snapped sharp, invisible, undeniable. Victoria's lips parted, but no words followed. Maya turned slightly toward the rain-streaked window. Her reflection met her gaze, calm, certain, ready. Voice low, she whispered almost to herself, "Phase 1 complete." The next tick of the clock sounded different, as if the room itself had realized it was no longer in charge. The next minute stretched long and fragile. No one spoke. The room's air felt like glass-clear cold, one wrong move away from shattering. Victoria finally broke it. "All right," she said sharply. "I'll have security verify your credentials." She turned to Dylan. "Call downstairs." He reached for the phone like it was a weapon. Maya didn't stop him. She only said calm and clear, "Before you make that call, try running my name." Victoria frowned. "Excuse me." Maya's gaze stayed locked on her. "You said this meeting is for executives. Good. Search your system for Maya Lawson, Lawson. Then decide who should wait outside." A murmur ran through the room. Liam, the intern, looked toward his laptop, hesitated, then began typing fast. Dylan smirked. "Oh, this ought to be good." Victoria rolled her eyes. "You don't seem to understand. We have protocols." Maya's voice didn't rise. "I understand better than anyone in this building." She placed her tablet flat on the table screen, facing up. The logo glowed, Lawson Holdings, a name that hovered in the company's contracts, press kits, and every balance sheet none of them had ever read closely. Liam's eyes widened. He froze. "Ma'am," he whispered. "Her name's in the ownership records." Victoria snapped. "What did you say?" Liam looked up, voice shaking but steady. "She's listed as S." He stopped when Maya gently raised a hand. "Let them finish the call," she said. "They'll need to hear it for themselves." Dylan chuckled again, though his confidence cracked at the edges. "Nice trick. Anyone can fake a logo." Maya's eyes didn't move. "Anyone can fake confidence, too. You're doing it right now." That line landed hard. The smirk died in his throat. Victoria folded her arms. "You're bluffing." "Then prove it," Maya said quietly. "Run my name." For a beat, no one moved. Only the rain filled the silence, tapping like a heartbeat against the glass. Then Victoria leaned over, typed on the console at the head of the table, and froze. The screen flashed, "Primary shareholder access verified." Liam swallowed hard. Dylan's phone slipped from his hand onto the desk. Victoria's voice shrank to a whisper. "That can't be right." "It is," Maya replied. "You just never imagined the person you dismissed could sign your checks." The tension snapped. Liam exhaled quietly. Maya picked up her tablet, calm as ever. "Now," she said, "shall we continue your meeting or mine?" And in that moment, every title in the room lost its weight. No one breathed for a full 5 seconds. Victoria's hand hovered above the keyboard like it had touched fire. The name Maya Lawson glowed on the screen, bright, official, undeniable. Dylan blinked twice, searching for words that wouldn't come. "Wait, this can't, there must be some mistake." Maya turned slightly toward him, her tone soft but surgical. The only mistake was assuming there wasn't one. From the corner, Liam sat frozen. He had never seen hierarchy collapse in real time. The people who just laughed were now blinking like deer in headlights, faces pale under the fluorescent lights. Victoria finally found her voice. "I don't know how this happened," she muttered. Maya replied, "That's what ignorance sounds like, calm, confused, and very late." Her smartwatch buzzed again. Elena's text appeared on screen, "System monitoring live feed. Compliance team on standby." Maya didn't reply. She didn't need to. The wheels were already turning. Victoria took a step closer, trying to regain control. "Miss Lawson, if you're really who you say you are, why didn't you identify yourself earlier?" Maya met her gaze with that quiet steadiness that felt heavier than shouting. "Because I wanted to see what respect looks like when it's not earned by a title." The words hit like thunder, muffled by glass. No one dared to move. Dylan cleared his throat. "Look, we didn't mean," Maya cut him off gently. "You did. You meant every word. That's what makes it so useful." She turned to Liam. "You've been recording this meeting, haven't you?" He froze. Yes, ma'am. Automatically. Standard internal policy." Maya nodded. "Good. Keep it. Nothing stays hidden forever." Outside, the rain slowed to a drizzle. Inside, guilt took its place. Victoria straightened her blazer again, voice trembling beneath the surface. "So, what happens now?" Maya looked around the table, one sweep slow and deliberate. "Now," she said, "now you get to listen." She walked to the head of the table, the chair meant for her but used by others in her absence, and sat down. The gesture was small, but it shifted the whole room's gravity. Her tone softened, but the weight in it doubled. "I built this division for people who believed talent had no color and leadership had no dress code. What I walked into today proved how far we still have to go." Liam's eyes glistened. Dylan looked down. Victoria's shoulders sank like the air had turned heavier. Maya folded her hands, calm, composed. "Consider this your first and only warning. The audit begins now." And as her words settled, the rain outside stopped, but inside the boardroom the storm had just begun. The hum of the overhead lights sounded louder now. No one dared to touch their phone. No one looked away. It was the kind of silence that doesn't wait to be filled, it judges. Maya leaned back slightly, the leather chair sighing under her calm authority. She didn't need to raise her voice. The room had already surrendered its volume. "Tell me," she said evenly, "when you saw me walk in, what did you see?" No answer, just nervous glances. Victoria's lips parted but closed again, trapped between apology and pride. Dylan stared at his tie as if it could explain something. "You saw someone who didn't fit your picture of power," Maya continued. "You saw color before credentials, clothes before capability, and you made a decision before you asked a single question." Liam's voice, small but clear-cut through the quiet. "I knew something felt wrong." Maya turned toward him, eyes softening for the first time. "You listened. That's how change starts." Her smartwatch lit again. Elena, phase 2 ready. "Confirm." Maya typed one word back. "Proceed." A soft tone echoed from the conference console. The large screen flickered. The company's internal dashboard appeared, Employee Records Department reports, audit logs. At the top corner, one name blinked red: Victoria Hayes, pending review. Victoria stiffened. "What is this Maya didn't look up?" "Documentation. Every recorded incident flagged by compliance in the last year, including this one." She paused. "Turns out this room isn't the only one that forgot its manners." Dylan leaned forward, defensive. "We were following policy." "Policy," Maya said slowly, "is the word people hide behind when conscience gets inconvenient." The sentence hit hard. Liam lowered his gaze, ashamed of every meeting he'd stayed silent in. Victoria's breathing quickened, but she tried to stand taller. "Are you threatening me?" Maya shook her head. "I don't threaten. I correct." Her tone was so level it felt colder than anger. She tapped once on her tablet, and the wall display switched. Photos of the company's founding team appeared. Every face beamed in framed confidence, except hers. "I built this from the ground up," she said. "And I left my picture out, because I wanted the work to speak louder than the woman. But today your behavior reminded me silence can become complicity." The air tightened. Liam's hands trembled slightly. Outside, thunder rumbled again, soft but certain like punctuation. Maya stood gathering her tablet. "I'll give you time to think before HR arrives," she said. Dylan swallowed. "You're calling them now." She met his eyes. "I already did, 5 minutes ago." And with that, she turned toward the window, watching her reflection blur against the storm. The powerful don't shout, she thought. They let the truth make the noise. The elevator dinged outside the glass wall, a clean, sterile sound that made everyone flinch. Through the transparent doors, 3 people in black suits approached with badges clipped to their belts. HR. You could almost feel the oxygen thin. Victoria turned pale. This is unnecessary. Maya didn't look up from her tablet. What's unnecessary, she said, is humiliation disguised as professionalism. I'm just evening the language. The HR lead, a tall woman named Denise Crawford, stepped inside. Her tone was formal but cautious. Miss Lawson, we received your escalation. Protocol confirms live audit authorization. Maya nodded once. Proceed. Denise glanced around the room. Everyone please remain seated while we review a few records. The click of laptop keys began, rapid clinical. Dylan fidgeted. You can just Denise cut him off without looking. We can and we are. Victoria's voice cracked. You can't fire an entire management team over a misunderstanding. Maya turned, finally meeting her eyes. You're right. I'm not firing you over a misunderstanding. She paused. I'm firing you over a pattern. The words landed like thunder inside the sterile boardroom. Liam watched silent, almost afraid to blink. He'd seen firings before, whispered private, always after hours. But this was different. This was truth conducted under daylight where excuses had nowhere to hide. Denise looked at Maya. Would you like to add remarks for the compliance file? Maya nodded slowly. Yes. She stood her presence, commanding but unhurried. Make a note, she said clearly. Respect is not a bonus line item. It's policy. If people can't treat others with dignity, they don't belong in leadership, no matter how clean their resume looks. Denise typed it verbatim. Victoria pushed back her chair, voice trembling with equal parts anger and fear. You think humiliating us in front of everyone fixes anything? Maya replied softly. No, but it makes sure it doesn't happen again. The glass wall reflected her calm expression, a woman unshaken while the storm behind her roared across the city skyline. Liam spoke quietly, almost to himself. I'll never forget this. Maya turned toward him, eyes steady. Good. That means you'll never repeat it. The HR team began printing termination acknowledgments. The hum of the printer became the new thunder. Dylan muttered, This is insane. Maya looked at him, not angry, just tired. No, she said, this is overdue. As signatures hit paper, the clock struck 10. Outside, the rain stopped for the first time all morning, as if the sky itself had decided to listen. Maya picked up her folder and walked to the door. Behind her, the silence was complete. Justice had its own sound, and it was quiet. The corridor outside the boardroom was still too still. Maya paused by the glass wall, watching the reflection of every face inside. Victoria sat frozen, Dylan's hands clasped tight, Liam staring at the floor. The HR team moved efficiently, gathering signatures like collecting evidence. She didn't need to speak. Her silence had become the loudest thing in the room. Behind her, Denise's voice carried steady authority. Effective immediately, management credentials are suspended pending executive review. A faint beep followed each keystroke, one for every name that blinked red on the access log. Dylan slammed his palm on the table. You can't lock me out of my own department. Maya turned her head slightly. You said the same thing to a black engineer you dismissed last quarter. Her name was Amara. You called her unfit for leadership. Dylan froze. How do you? I read the reports no one else did. Victoria stood abruptly. You've made your point. You have no right to humiliate us like this. Maya stepped closer, her heels soft but certain against the floor. This isn't humiliation, Victoria. It's consequence. And the fact that you can't tell the difference is why this company almost forgot what accountability feels like. The line cut through her like glass. Victoria's mouth opened, but the words never formed. Liam finally spoke, voice shaking but sincere. She's right. Everyone turned. The intern, small in stature but suddenly visible, looked around the room. You treat people like they're replaceable until someone like her walks in and proves they're not. Victoria glared. Watch your tone, intern. But Maya lifted a hand, stopping her. No, let him speak. He's the only one who still understands what this place was supposed to be. For the first time that morning, Victoria looked uncertain. Not angry, just lost. Maya turned to Denise. Send a company-wide memo. Today's meeting will be uploaded as an internal ethics case study. Every employee deserves to know how leadership behaves when it thinks no one important is watching. Denise hesitated. Understood, Miss Lawson. Dylan muttered, You'll ruin us. Maya's reply was immediate. No, I'll rebuild you. But this time with people who remember respect. The screen on the wall refreshed, access revoked accounts locked the digital equivalent of doors closing. The power imbalance that had defined the room evaporated. Maya gathered her things. She glanced once at Liam. "You did well today. Integrity isn't loud. Keep it that way." He nodded, eyes bright, trying to process the weight of what he'd just witnessed. As she walked toward the elevator, the automatic doors opened with a soft hiss. For a fleeting moment, the reflection on the glass showed her standing tall while the city behind her shimmered in muted sunlight. 5 minutes ago, they'd told her to wait outside. Now the whole building waited on her next word. The elevator doors closed behind her with a quiet, metallic sigh. Maya exhaled. Not relief, just release. Power didn't thrill her. It steadied her. For years, she had walked into rooms like that, watching people mistake silence for weakness. This time, she had let them hear what silence actually sounds like when it finally speaks. Inside the boardroom, Victoria and Dylan still sat in the wreckage of their certainty. The HR team collected the last of the forms, leaving the sound of paper against paper, the quiet aftermath of arrogance. Down the hall, Maya's phone buzzed. Elena, audit complete. Local media requesting statement. Do we respond? Maya typed back. No leaks. The lesson is internal. She paused before hitting send, then added, but make sure every employee gets the recording. As she walked through the corridor, staff members peeked out from offices. Curious eyes hushed whispers. They had heard pieces of what happened. Word always traveled faster than truth, but this time both were on the same side. A young janitor held the elevator for her. "Ma'am, I just wanted to say thank you." Maya smiled faintly. "For what?" "For not letting them win quietly." She nodded. Quiet doesn't mean small, it means focused. Back upstairs, Victoria's composure cracked for good. Her voice was hoarse, desperate. "You think you've fixed something today? You've just made enemies?" Liam, still seated near the back, replied softly, "Maybe. But at least now they know who they're up against." The HR director looked to Victoria. "You'll be escorted out once your files are processed." Victoria shook her head. "I built this branch." Maya's voice came faintly through the intercom, calm, undeniable. "And I built the foundation it stands on." The entire room froze again, that same quiet authority now echoing through speakers instead of air. Outside, Maya stood by the window overlooking the city. Rain clouds were breaking apart, sunlight sliding between them like a promise. Her reflection merged with the skyline, two silhouettes, one story. She opened her tablet, tapped a note for the entire executive board, subject, respect, audit, immediate implementation, body. From today forward, employee conduct will weigh equal to performance. Titles won't protect bias. Results won't excuse cruelty. Leadership begins where ego ends. She read it once, then hit send all. Somewhere in the distance, thunder rumbled again, soft, approving final. Maya whispered under her breath, "Let them call it a scandal if they want. I'll call it a standard." And as the first rays of sunlight broke across the skyline, the woman they once told to wait outside walked out through the main doors, not leaving the building but taking it with her. By noon, the boardroom felt like an abandoned stage after a play that ended too soon. Folders, half-closed chairs pushed back in uneven angles, the faint hum of the AC filling what used to be laughter. Every echo in that room carried a different weight now, guilt, awe, and the realization that power had just changed address. Victoria sat motionless. Her badge lay on the table, its red light blinking in slow surrender. Dylan scrolled through his phone, searching for comfort in policies that could no longer protect him. Liam stayed where he was, notebook open, writing, not because anyone told him to, but because moments like this needed to be remembered exactly as they happened. Outside the glass, Maya's reflection still lingered in the window, faint, spectral, like a truth that refused to fade. Denise from HR re-entered, collecting the last of the paperwork. "Transition meetings begin tomorrow," she said, her tone neutral but reverent. "Miss Lawson will return to brief the new leadership team." Victoria forced a bitter laugh. "She replaced us before we even left," Denise replied calmly. "No, she replaced what wasn't working." Liam looked up. "She didn't even raise her voice." Denise smiled faintly. "That's what real authority sounds like." He nodded, eyes distant. "It's strange, when she spoke, I didn't feel fear. I felt order." The rain had fully stopped now. Light poured through the tall windows, washing the table in soft gold. It made the room look smaller, honest, like truth had bleached every corner. Victoria whispered almost to herself, "All these years and I never noticed her name on the documents." Liam closed his notebook. "You never looked for it." The line stung more than any reprimand could. For a brief second, Victoria seemed to understand not just her downfall but its cause. Out in the lobby, footsteps approached. Maya returned calm, composed, a folder in one hand and her tablet in the other. Every head lifted instinctively. She stopped at the doorway, surveying the scene she had just rewritten. "I don't like endings," she said softly. "Only lessons." Her voice carried without effort the same tone that had silenced the chaos earlier. She placed a single envelope on the table, her final directive. Inside is the new training program. It's called Leadership by Listening. I expect it to start with every person who's still sitting in this room. Then she turned to leave, pausing only once. "You all asked me to wait outside?" she said, eyes steady, but maybe that's exactly where the real change begins, right after the door closes. When she walked away, the automatic doors opened again with a whisper, letting in a breeze of new air. Inside, no one spoke, because sometimes the only thing left to say is nothing. The next morning, the building woke differently. No chatter, no background laughter, just the sound of phones vibrating with the same notification: leadership update effective immediately. Maya arrived early, long before the cameras or curiosity. She preferred the quiet hours when the world was still choosing who it wanted to be that day. The receptionist straightened at the sight of her, nerves mixing with respect. "Good morning, Miss Lawson." Maya smiled. "Morning. How's the air today?" "Clearer," the woman said with a laugh too soft to hide her relief. Upstairs, HR and operations gathered in the same glass room that had once humiliated her. It looked different now, brighter somehow, like the windows had decided to stop reflecting arrogance. Maya walked to the head of the table, placed her folder down, and spoke with that same calm that had dismantled careers without raising her tone. "This isn't a purge," she said. "It's a reset." Her eyes swept across the team. "I don't need loyalty, I need clarity. People who can look at someone and see worth before wardrobe." One of the new managers, a woman in her 30s, nodded slowly. "We've all seen what happened yesterday. It was necessary." Maya's gaze held hers. Necessary isn't always easy. That's what separates correction from cruelty. She turned to Liam, now seated beside the compliance director. "You're promoted to junior ethics coordinator. You earned it." Liam blinked, stunned. "Madam, I just did what anyone should have done." "Exactly," she said. "That's why it matters." For a moment, the air softened, heavy truth giving way to quiet redemption. Downstairs, Victoria and Dylan were packing up their offices under HR supervision. No shouting, no resistance. Just the soft thud of boxes and the echo of shoes on marble floors. Dylan muttered, "She made an example of us." Victoria shook her head slowly. "No, she made an example for us. We just weren't ready to learn." Back upstairs, Maya stood by the window, watching the city stir beneath her. Trains, moving taxis, flashing 1,000 tiny stories, unaware that one building had just shifted its gravity. Her phone buzzed. "Elena, press requests again." "You sure you don't want to comment?" Maya typed back. "No statements. The work is the comment." She glanced at her reflection, sunlight glinting on the glass. Yesterday, that reflection was a stranger in her own space. Today, it was proof. She turned back to the team. "Start the new audit framework. Every quarter. No exceptions." Someone asked, "What should we call it?" Maya smiled faintly. "Call it accountability. Simple names make powerful habits." And as she left the boardroom, her voice trailed behind, steady, measured, unmistakably hers. Justice isn't about revenge. It's about remembering who we are when no one's watching. By evening, the city glowed under a pale orange sky. The building stood taller, somehow cleansed by something no architect could design: respect. Maya watched from the balcony outside her top-floor office, the hum of downtown drifting upward like a song finally finding its melody. She'd spent her entire career building spaces where people could walk in and be seen for who they were. Yesterday had reminded her why that mission still mattered. Justice wasn't abstract, it was personal, and sometimes painfully quiet. Her phone buzzed. A message from Liam. "The new team finished orientation. Everyone stayed late. They wanted to thank you." She smiled and typed back, "Tell them not to thank me. Just do better for whoever walks in next." The door behind her opened softly. Elena stepped out holding a steaming cup of tea. "You've been standing there a while," she said. Maya took the cup, eyes still on the skyline. "It's strange, isn't it? The same city that once shut its doors on me now runs on contracts with my name." Elena nodded. "Full circle." Maya's voice dropped to a near whisper. "Not a circle, a door that finally stayed open." They stood in silence for a moment. The wind brushed her hair back, and for the first time all day, Maya let herself breathe deeply, fully, freely. Down in the lobby, the security team replaced the framed photo display near the entrance. The last slot, once left blank, now held a new image. Maya Lawson standing in front of the glass tower. She owned her expression, calm, resolute. The plaque beneath read, "Leadership is not about being seen first. It's about being remembered last." A small crowd gathered, staff pausing to look. Some smiled. Some just stood thoughtful. The same receptionist from that morning whispered, "She really changed everything, didn't she?" Her colleague replied, "No, she reminded us what it was supposed to be." Back upstairs, Maya turned to Elena. "Tomorrow we start again," she said. "No headlines, no hashtags, just work." Elena smiled. "That's what makes it real." Maya nodded slowly, setting her teacup down. Her eyes drifted to the reflection in the window, her own face faintly superimposed over the city lights. For a moment it looked like the entire skyline was exhaling with her. She whispered the same words that had carried her through every locked door, every silent dismissal, every victory won without shouting, "I don't need to prove I belong. I build where I stand." And as the night settled over the glass and steel, the lights inside her building stayed on. Not as a symbol of power, but as proof that dignity never needed permission to shine.